It was good. Loved it.
Well, you've said it's good at the beginning of the intro. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Agents of Steere, PatriCIA Steere and David Weiss exposed live on YouTube. Yeah, not really. We're just going to chat about their normal lives that they actually have.
How does she get first billing?
Conclusion. Why? Why do people think that you're CIA, Patricia? David,
Because
why are you labeled a shill? What is it all about?
Wow. Well, by the way, I'm drinking grapefruit juice, just letting everyone know. That's what this is, in case there's going to be controversy that I'm drinking something. What are you drinking?
Mango juice.
David, do you have a drink?
Water.
So yeah, let's get that out of the way. So none of us are drinking urine.
Right. No. Sorry, no.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on your show a minute ago, didn't we, about the maps? So KSAR did a little video that was basically tying back to, not that older video now, but from what are their names now, Laurie and Laurie, where they're basically saying these guys are shills because they believe in the azimuthal equidistant projection, otherwise known as the Gleason's map. And I'd now ask this on your show, Patricia, do either of you actually think that's a real version of the world?
I don't think that the Gleasons or that map, I don't think that's a real projection. I think we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but I'm pretty convinced it's a circle, and I'm pretty convinced the continents are misshapen and kind of in the right area, but kind of not, and need to be twisted around, and then we've got it. And then, of course, we don't know what's outside of the place in which we live and other land and all of that. That remains to be seen. But no, I don't think that those maps are like finding a map to get to your local grocery store. They're not accurate maps. We just use them as a point of reference.
We've all been around the campfire, haven't we? You know, talking about maps, especially with Cammy and Bob. And it's amazing to take yourself on a journey, but you've got to start somewhere. And that's all that map is. It's just a starting point. Nobody hangs their hat on it.
Yes, and those who consider that anybody who has a Gleason's map or whatever behind them, they're a shill because they're promoting a false reality, that's crazy. That is literally crazy. I have a mirror next to me. That's, I mean, no. And the person that you mentioned, Kazar, I always thought it was Caesar, the particular YouTuber you're talking about. And this particular YouTuber put out a video, and I have been a longtime subscriber, and saw the video, and in the video, he referred to people who have that map as being a shill and called David Weiss a shill. And I was sort of shocked. This is a person I subscribe to, calling David Weiss a shill. If there is a shill on Flat Earth or beyond, it's not David Weiss. And so I made a comment saying that David Weiss is not a shill. He's a person who spends pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, searching for truth on all areas, including Flat Earth. I left that as a comment, and people have told me they've also made comments as well, and other people had made comments too. I couldn't just let that video stand like that without taking a stand, and I think that's a nice thing to do if you're not afraid of getting all the comments that will be pinging back your way, like you're a shill, etc.
Yeah, but I've had numerous conversations with John LeBon, who you co-hosted a show with, which was excellent, Baller Skeptic. And he now thinks you're just too clever to put out the kind of disinfo you put out, David. So what say you?
I don't understand what disinfo he's talking about. The only thing I know that he disagrees with me on is that sunset video over the African plain. He thinks that I faked it or it's a fake video. I found numerous other ones that are very similar. And that's all I know about that. The Cesar video or whatever his name is, I watched it for the first time just the other day when you told me you wanted to do this show. And I think I've said numerous times that I don't agree with the AE map 100%. It's a representation of what we have. I think that, you know, your sun tracking showed that Australia is, I think, farther east. We don't know exactly what it is. I think one day we will. I was just talking to Bob and Cammy, and they have some very interesting developments on the map. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's it. We get privy to these conversations, and I was saying that Dina described it in exactly the same way as Rob Skiba described it, about being around campfires. And that's just one of those particular campfires that we get. You know, we're very privileged to be able to do this. And I preface that by saying anybody can do this. You know, you can all start your own campfire, or if you want to look at campfires like Google Hangouts, anybody's capable. But the sort of cross mingling that certainly Dina Walker gets to do, you know, it's a fine line because there's so much hatred. But it seems that people, and I'm going to name and shame in this particular episode, we've got people like Adam Joseph Doherty that seem outwardly really good, honest people that will turn against, especially you, Patricia, specifically, and immediately go this standard line of just labeling you as this and that and the other, when it seems like ultimately they've just fallen in love with you and then realize that they're not actually going to be with you. So they decide to go the other line, which is complete hatred of you. And just, you know, Star Gods, Dan Pratt, you know, the list goes on and on and on. But it's horrible to watch. It really is. It must be 10 times worse to endure.
Well, I recently moved back from the UK, and I don't really want to get into that particular situation, but I moved there and then I moved back. And so that pretty much sums up what happened there. And to find out that Adam Joseph Doty had removed himself from all social media, and that there was a video out, not supposedly put out by him, but somebody else. There is a theory it could be him, purporting that I am an agent in Flat Earth put here, I think by the Canadian government, to make men fall in love with me and ruin Flat Earth. That's pretty interesting. I would like to see the men I've made fall in love with me line up and confess to this and show the proof, including Adam, but he won't because there isn't any. I liked Adam, worked with him on many videos, had him on my show many times, interviewed him, been on panel shows with Adam. I know he's a very sensitive guy. I've met via Skype his fiancee, May, spoke with her, was pleased and honored that I was allowed through Adam to meet her because he doesn't really talk about her a lot. Wished her happy birthday on one of my shows. There was never any plotting or scheming behind May's back or anybody's back for me to be with them. I was in the throes of extricating myself of a relationship in the UK when all of this went down while I was on a plane flying from the UK back to the United States. So I don't understand what clicks in people's heads and turns a person who is a friend of sorts, never meeting in person, but a friend, into somebody who wants to blame me for things. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I think it's a conspiratorial mindset. In general, they can create those sorts of things, even if the person is not themselves believing that I'm a shill, because I know that Adam doesn't really believe I'm an agent that tries to make men fall in love with. He doesn't really believe that. He may be saying it, he doesn't really believe that. In his heart of hearts, he can't, because it's untrue. I think that some people just can easily jump to that because they know others are conspiratorial and will buy it, which is sad, because if we're looking for truth, we have to have a filter. We can't just accept anything that's put in our faces and say, oh, yeah, that's true, that's true. We have to be able to break things down, look at the logic, and then come to a conclusion, not just blindly believe things because the person saying them is a Christian or is a this or is a that or whatever the case may be.
All right. What about you, David? It's a totally different story with you. I mean, maybe you've got men falling in love with you. I don't know, but perhaps it's more people just labeling you.
Story of my life.
You've got, was it Truth Media Revolution, who's nonstop calling you a shill?
Whatever his name is, Jeff C. Yeah, he's still after me, and the other punk, I forget whatever his name is. I don't get it. You know, people think that I'm paid, that, you know, I came up out of nowhere. You know, my subs are going up. I'm going to hit, 30,000 soon. And then they'll be like, well, how did you get that many subs? You know, it's insane how people just come up and assume these things. Nobody's ever talked to me. You know, this is just natural. And it's not a Flat Earth is not a psyop. And what I don't understand is, how is Mark Sargent a shill? He believes in the dome. Well, so does Rob Skiba. So, I kind of think there's some sort of dome up there. I don't know if it comes down or not, but there's definitely something up there. That's my belief, but none of that matters. The earth is flat. We can figure all the rest out later.
I mean, that's possibly why, because every show you do, and I've had a good look, obviously, recently in preparation for this show, and you're always talking about flat earth or false flags, hoaxes. You're talking about this stuff and not about you. So maybe there's a lot of people out there that haven't got the vaguest idea what you do, how you get paid, how you earn money. Now, I haven't preempted this by saying I'm going to ask you about how you earn your living, and I'm not going to do that now. But maybe if you can just, let people know, a bit about you. We'll start with you specifically, David, then we'll go move on to Patricia. But tell the audience who you are. Who is David Weiss?
I'm just a guy that I'm a normal guy. I'm no different than anybody else. I was in, working for companies until one day I started my own company with some partners, and that's it. I earn a decent living, enough to get by. I have a girlfriend. I have children. I have cats. I like to kite surf. I'm just a normal guy. And the truth is, you could say I might have attention deficit disorder. That's what they would diagnose me in school to these days. But actually, I'm just very interested in things that I'm interested in. And if I'm not interested in it, I can't pay attention to it unless somebody presents it in a way that will grab my interest. Flat Earth has got my attention. Can't let it go. In all my free time, I don't do it 24/7. I have a job. I do my stuff. But whenever I'm not working and I don't need to be thinking about work, I'm thinking about Flat Earth. Or when I'm relaxing or kite surfing or bike riding, I'm thinking about Flat Earth because it affects every single person every day, always, without exception. And it's fascinating. So that shows me that I don't have attention deficit disorder. I'm just focused on things that resonate with me deeply, and not the other BS that other people focus on.
Yeah. In fact, I get Skype messages or little messages from David, and I send him the same kinds of messages. We're never sending each other like, "Hey, watch what's on CBS," or the messages are always like, "Did you see this video? Do you know about this book? Do you know about this water distiller?" I mean, it's just an exchange of information all about the things that we're all interested in, because that's what we think about all the time when we're doing videos, when we're not doing videos. All of these conspiracies, trying to uncover the truth about all of it. It's what makes me, what makes David, what makes Nathan yourself. I know, Nathan, you have your new baby Eleanor, and so I know you're thinking about baby things and this and that, but and being with Paula, your wife, and loving her and all of that. But still, Flat Earth has remained through the pregnancy, through the birth of the baby, post, huge part of your life, because it is who you are, and it's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, how do we go from talking about people being able to be capable of doing all the amazing things that the controllers of our reality are capable of doing, and then have them say that, somebody who stepped from normal life into just making YouTube videos about a controversial subject, they're suddenly absolutely connected to them. They're paid by the CIA. How do people make this connection? I just want to get to the nuts of it, so that people will see them and just be able to say, that's nonsense. How do people ever make this step?
I think sometimes that people think that people that they see on YouTube are not, I don't mean too good to be true. I don't mean that we're good, but that David Weiss, how can he be so nice and friendly and well-informed and have all this time to devote to making videos? Must be paid. How can he live in New York? It's expensive there, or outside of New York. Must be paid. How can she have lots of different outfits on and lipstick on? Must be paid. How about just we've used what we have already had in our life, what we've worked to achieve, and in my case, in some level, some inheritance. That is our background. And then on top of that, all the new discoveries. And so we're combinations of what we were prior to the knowledge and what we are with the knowledge, and we meld them. Yes, I can wear a pretty kimono, but still talk about flat Earth. What am I supposed to do? Burn it and wear rags? No. Why can't I be this woman who used to own a clothing store? Or because I was a radio DJ, because my dad owned a station, still occasionally go to a concert and talk about flat Earth or talk about alternative health practices. People are not one-dimensional. Regular people, those watching, are not one-dimensional. You've got a wide variety of interests and a wide variety of aspects of your background. You're not just one thing, a robotic flat earther. You're many things. So those that you watch on YouTube are the same as you, just with different interests. And it's okay. That doesn't mean they're agents. It doesn't mean they're fakes. It just means they're people.
Maybe, David, you can explain to anyone watching how you go from one day you're not a YouTuber. Let's ignore flat earther for a moment. How do you go from that moment to being, like you say, having 30,000 subscribers and people commenting left, right, and center, and having channel managers and all the rest of it? What's, as brief as you want to be, what's that path?
I found the flat Earth. I had never really made videos in any way. And then I had some ideas in my researching. I'm like, hey, how do you explain this? And I made a video, and it was pretty easy. I work on a Mac, iMovie. It just makes them for you. I mean, you can, like, your promo for this show. How long did that take you?
About 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes. It was really good. I mean, it's insane. It puts it together, and it's amazing because, I don't want to say I'm special in any way, shape, or form. So don't anyone think that. But when I get focused on making a video, people are bigger fans of my videos than I am, but it just falls together. And then, like, I'll find the music, because I have a little formula: short videos for the short attention spans, people like myself, to get my message out there, and then set it to some emotional music, because music, really affects us on an emotional level, and music actually helps me stay focused. So I'm kind of making these videos looking at myself, the way I look at stuff, and people like it. But that music, if you watch my videos, you'll see that the music, most of the time, really goes with the shifts in the video. And it's like the perfect song, and it wasn't. I literally Googled royalty-free music. I go to a site that has 2,000 songs, and the first one I see that's the right length fits perfectly. So is that just a coincidence, or, are we manifesting our reality by focusing on things? I think there's a lot of that at play here, and anyone can do it. Anybody can make this stuff happen. So, and like Jaron always says, I made a video. God, I couldn't even imagine having 100 subscribers. Well, I'm getting 100 subscribers every day, or plus. And I haven't even made a video in a week. I don't know. It just comes.
I mean, it's a huge amount of work to actually just produce a small amount of videos in between your work life, and you've got to be compelled to do it. I mean, you went straight onto flat Earth, and I know we've already got JLB in the chat saying David made videos before he made flat Earth videos, and that was kind of where I was hoping to lead you, because I want people to realize that there's not just pick a topic, make a few good videos on iMovie, and suddenly you've got 30,000 subscribers, because nothing could be further from the truth.
You know what? I did make some videos before coming a flat earther, but they weren't very good, or mostly other people's stuff. But I got better. I just got better at it just by practicing. I'm like, oh, look, I could do this, and I'll find one trick, and I'll stick with that for a long time. Until I find another trick. And now I just realized I can make PNG files really easy. And that opens up a whole new world of what you can do in videos. So,
I mean, from videos to definite personality-based entertainment, we've got PatriCIA, who's come from, a totally different background to arrive at a very similar place. But you're not editing and splicing videos together. You're talking to people, interacting them. Can you tell people, again, it's not just as simple as picking up a YouTube manual, starting up a Hangout, and then being really good at it? Obviously, you've got a background in this. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, I was in radio before. I was a talk show host at a radio station in Napa, California, which is what they call an unrated market, meaning it's small. It beamed into San Francisco, but people in San Francisco would rather listen to more polished San Francisco radio. But that meant I could hear the better San Francisco radio and kind of mimic the style and learn, as well as do my radio thing in Napa. And I was also a DJ and a talk show host at that station. There was an AM and FM. And prior to that, I worked for my father and other radio stations in different areas, and just sort of climbed the ladder. I never got to be really huge, obviously, or you'd know me, but I got out of radio. My father actually sold his radio station in the 80s, and I got out of radio myself. I wasn't working for him when I got out. I was in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I got out because radio changed from what it was when I was first in it, which was more of a fun medium where people, even in smaller markets, could develop fun contests, do man on the street interviews, do more creative things, to something where you could only talk for 15 seconds and you had to kind of read a script. I got really sick of it. And I got sick of radio stations hiring and then firing everybody and changing their format because of a corporate takeover by a big, huge company like CBS or any of these other big companies that come along and do that sort of thing. Anyway, so after that, one of my other passions since I was in early high school was fashion and clothing. I'd worked in retail stores before, learned a little bit while working in the store, a store called Betsy Johnson, which is a woman's kind of crazy fashion designer. I think she's since retired, but learned about a clothing store from working in a boutique with just myself and one other person there. Then you know how to work everything. The cash register, even if it's owned by a big company, because you're the only people in there. It's not a big department store. And I thought, I love clothes. I could open up my own store. Had a little family money, had some of my own money, opened up a small boutique clothing store in New Orleans, Louisiana. So these things made me who I am today. Of course, flat earth discovery came about just by looking at other conspiracies. I'd been doing that in my spare time, pretty much all of the time. And, it went through 9/11 and the moon hoax, and then it ended up with Mark Sargent and Flat Earth Clues. And then one day I said, I can't just sit by with this. This is so crazily overpowering. I need to do something. What can you do? And I, while listening to videos, was thinking to myself, who are these people? Who is this David Weiss? What do these people do when they're not doing videos? Who is this Matrix Decode? Who is this Mark Sargent? I wonder what their lives are like. What led them to these beliefs? And then I thought, wait a minute, you could interview them. Why don't you contact them? And it's like voices in my head talking. And then I thought, oh, they won't answer because I'm nobody. I mean, I don't even have a channel. I don't even make comments on their videos. And anyway, long story short, I got the guts and ended up, I think it was emailing Mark Sargent. And I thought he'd never answer because he had like tons of fan mail, but he answered anyway. We talked and blah, 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 blah. I started a channel to do YouTube videos, not just a channel to comment on things, and started doing videos. And you can look at my first and second and third and I don't know, maybe 12th video, and you could see a learning curve happening where I ended up getting a microphone, where I ended up being a little more polished, where I stopped moving my hands around when I talked. Just little things that I learned. Here, I'm moving my hands. Little things I learned as time went by just to be better at talking to people and better at doing the thing I decided to do, which was interview flat earthers about their life and how they got into flat earth. And since I had like a side bit of knowledge from doing talk shows in radio about health, alternative health, veganism, at one point vegetarianism in my life, I kind of threw that in, which is why the name Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes came to my mind, because it covered the other things, other conspiracies, other hot topics. So that's why on my show I kind of blend both, because that's me, that's who I am. It's not as simple to just read some literature about how to do a YouTube video or watch somebody else's how-to video. You have to actually get in there and do it. And there's people who are far better at this than me. I just do my own thing and enjoy other people's way of doing their own thing. And I don't know, I think it's really fun, and it's given me a bigger purpose in life than I've actually ever had before. A purpose that feels to me that I'm contributing something to society by exposing fine researchers to even more of an audience. Better than just running a clothing store or spinning some records. I feel like I'm helping for the first time in my life.
Almost immediately, you had PatriCIA Steere as a CIA agent, part 1 and part 2. And that was so early into your flat earth YouTube making.
Yeah. Those things shocked me and hurt me because that was very early into when I started, and I never expected anybody to consider I was a CIA agent. I had to look up the word shill when I first started. I wasn't sure what it was at all. I thought it was something like those old time medicine shows where somebody gets up on a podium and they have a wagon. They go from town to town and they give the horse some hay and they open up the back of the wagon and they sell these bottles of, miracle cure. So someone gets up on the podium and says, yeah, miracle cure is the greatest. It's wonderful. Buy it now. It's only 10 pennies. And then somebody in the audience says, look, I can see or I can walk. I used miracle cure. You should buy it. And then the crowd goes and purchases the item. I thought that's what a shill was. That person in the audience pretending. And I guess that probably is a classic definition of a shill. But to be called a shill and to be called an agent just made me think, okay, I'm in the conspiracy world where everybody's paranoid now, but are people paranoid and stupid? I mean, sometimes yes, but also lots of people make videos like that knowing that what they're putting out there is incorrect, knowing that they're lying, but they do it as clickbait. They do it to get more views to their channel.
Well, I think it was Postal Service who sliced up a Lift the Veil interview that you did, and also went after Dave Weiss. So
yeah, that's the guy.
Yes.
He's still after me. He goes into my comments and just spams the hell out of them. But
yes, that guy. He took a perfectly nice interview with a guy who was looking into flat Earth called Lift the Veil that I had on my show. And because the Lift the Veil guy, whose name is Nathan, by the way, always wears well, at that time, I don't know about now, always would wear a black t-shirt and be in the same place in his house. You could take answers to varying questions he's been asked on varying interviews or from his own videos and take those statements or answers and then splice them together and then show me asking questions and then show him with a weird answer that makes no sense. And that's what the Postal Service did. Now, the Postal Service is supposedly a good conspiracy investigator. Riddle me this. Why is somebody supposed to be a good conspiracy investigator? Going through videos, chopping them up into bits, spending his time putting together an absolutely 100% false representation of other people who've never done anything to hurt him and putting it out there as truth. Doesn't that say a lot about the truth that he puts out on his channel?
Did you debate him, David?
Yeah, there's a video on my channel, which is pretty funny. It's me and the Postal Service. The guy basically destroyed himself. I don't even want to say I destroyed him. I just let him destroy himself. His childish behavior. I've really forgotten about him until his comments show up, in my comments. People also say I'm a shill because I delete comments. Well, people are affected. They'll watch a video and because of the mind programming that's happened, with fluoridation and chemtrails and GMOs and, everything, I've noticed that, young people, old people, are not able to formulate their own ideas anymore. They literally, unless it's shown to them on a screen and told them, they'll be like, yeah, I believe that. And they won't be able to watch a few videos and actually come up with their own ideas. They can only do what's on what they're told. What was your question? I had a great point and I lost it.
I was asking about you debating Postal Service.
Yeah. God, I had such a great point and it's gone.
I was following you too, but when you said you lost the point, I lost the point.
It'll come back in a second and I'll interrupt you. Go
No
ahead.
worries. I mean, I was going to move on to a slightly different subject, so maybe that'll throw you back on track. But I was going to talk about another label that you get called, which is possibly more a flat earthy label, which is gatekeepers. People are gatekeeping the flat earth. I have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe you guys can shed some light on.
Well, the thing is about being a gatekeeper, that would mean essentially you'll tell a little bit of truth or a lot of truth, but there's one element you'll never touch. And I always get told, oh, you don't ever talk about the Jews. You don't talk about the Jews because we've heard you say, or they use the word admit, that your mom was Jewish. that she converted before she married your dad, but that makes you a Jew. It's in the blood, like it's some kind of infection or something. Anyway, that I gatekeep talking about the Talmud or something. I don't gatekeep talking about anything. I've discussed the Holocaust / Holohoax, the Talmud, briefly, but because I don't have a lot of knowledge about it, I leave that to the experts, which aren't me. I'm not gatekeeping it. If I had a guest on, and I have had guests on who know about that sort of thing and wish to talk about it, that's totally fine. I've never told one single person I've interviewed, let's not talk about fill in the blank. In fact, when I interview people, one of the questions I ask before I turn the show on is there anything you don't want me to ask you? But I never say to people that these are subjects we're not going to touch. I'm not gatekeeping anything at all. I don't think David would ever be considered to be gatekeeping anything either.
The reason I don't talk about it is basically the same reason. I don't know enough about it. Yeah. And I don't believe the official story is nearly correct, if it's correct at all. But I don't know enough about it. And you know what? This sounds really horrible. I'm just not interested in it. It's not something that I can focus on. For some reason, my mind just shuts off and I daydream. I think about other things. It's not something I'm interested in. People say I'm a gatekeeper because of that. Well, I'm a gatekeeper because I don't talk about Cell Earth either, whatever the heck that is. Right. If you don't talk about something, you're a gatekeeper. It's ridiculous. That wasn't really a great example because, one of them is, I don't know who believes in Cell Earth. Maybe there are people. But it's on my website. There's information out there and I don't state it's true one way or the other. Make up your own mind. That's the whole thing. You have to be able to make up your own mind.
Normally I wouldn't do this because he's asking constantly, but Ace McLeod has been taking the sting out of the word shill. So he goes around calling everybody a shill. Now, I just haven't got his skill because occasionally in the chat feeds, I'll accuse you of being a shill, Dave. And unfortunately, people will take things seriously, which is perhaps the unfortunate condition that we're dealing with. It doesn't matter how much nonsense there is in a postal service video or how badly or how well it's hacked together. People will just take it at face value and say, fine, that's obviously what happened. Nobody does any further research. They'll just literally watch a video. That's a bit of a concern when a lot of our audience are doing that and just take what we say at face value and won't necessarily consider that, you've put out something that you will yourself say in 6 months' time, no, I got that wrong. Everybody's perfectly capable of getting things wrong. Nobody's infallible. And I don't know, because we're on a pedestal, because we're on this platform with a few more viewers than some YouTubers, none of us have got a silver play symbol behind us. Jaren's probably getting the closest along with Russian Vids and a few others. But yeah, it's very, very small numbers. But yeah, in this around this particular campfire as a whole, people will look to you as though you should be infallible and you should have it right every time. And if you don't, you're gatekeeping the truth. You're a shill. You're a CIA agent. You're a disinformation agent. And all of it's rubbish. It's just people.
Also, I hear sometimes things like people will say a little comment put into a video randomly, not involving anything the video was about. You and Mark Sargent, you just make Flat Earth into a joke. That's why you're shills. That's why you're a CIA agent. I'm like, how does Mark Sargent and I make Flat Earth into a joke? Mark Sargent's who woke me up to Flat Earth. He's probably single-handedly awakened more people to Flat Earth than anyone I know. And one could say, well, go look at his subscriber rate. It's not that high compared to others. Well, that's because Mark Sargent allowed his work to be taken by anybody and put on their channel, not even monetized.
Yeah. How many times have you heard Mark Sargent say, I was the first, I did this? He never says that.
Exactly. Never.
But there's a lot of people out there. They're like, I've been in Flat Earth longer than any of you. I've woken up more people than any of you. That's insane. And a lot of people, take other people's work and copy it. I'm fine with that. I tell people, take my videos, create your own channel, monetize it. I don't care. If you like it, if you think it's good, edit it. Edit my name off of it and put your name on it. I don't care. Just get the information out there rather than saying, I was first, I've done more. That's ridiculous. I'm nobody. I'm just a guy that's trying to figure this out. And we're making great leaps and bounds. 18 months ago, we didn't know half of what we know now. And we knew the earth was flat back then.
Yeah.
We've had a very big radical change, in my opinion, in the attitude that people take. It was really great. I keep forgetting his name. Your friend that you interviewed with I think it was Jerem, and the guy you were rolling your eyes almost when you were listening to him give his explanations, his standard, normal, run-of-the-mill explanations for how things were, and you've heard it all before. But he was the one getting exasperated when you were challenging those things and saying, well, have you looked at it in this particular way? Rather than just listening, he would be compelled to talk over you. And you see,
talking about my debate with John.
Nobody's got the sort of fear of maybe they're going to debunk me any minute. Nobody's got that anymore 12 months, 18 months, 2 years down the line.
Are you talking about my debate with my friend John?
Yeah, John.
Yes.
That's the one.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, man. We've been going back and forth. He cannot. I mean, you can put stuff right in front of him, and he won't see it. I showed him. Did you see the graphic that somebody took the Red Bull jump? Lot of ball earthers have used the Red Bull jump. Look, this is proof the Earth is a ball. Well, somebody took that and sized it to the blue marble to make the edge match. And it literally covers, a fifth of the world, that patch. And it just shows that it's impossible. And he's like, he goes, his answer to that was, you still haven't answered my question. How can a flight from Auckland to Chile be faster than a flight from whatever, another route? And I'm just like, he can't hear that. He can't prove the route of an airplane, and he can't prove the speed or of the airplane, and neither can I. Therefore, it's a nothing. It's a pointless point. But
has it hurt your friendship at all?
It's definitely some tension there, but we're buds. He would save my life if it came down to that. But he cannot see, and no matter what piece of proof you put in front of him, if it's a rock solid piece of proof, he won't look at it. I'm like, here, watch this eight-minute video. I go, if you watch this, you're good. That's going to change the way you think. He goes, I watched 2 minutes of it. It's nonsense.
I hear that all the time. Of when I send people videos, they'll say that, oh, I couldn't get through it. The stupidity of flat earthers is something that I can't even stand to hear their voices. I'm like, listen to the video, watch the video all the way through. So they don't want to know. They don't want to know. They don't want to hear it.
Again, the thing is that it's the reversal of that for us, is what I'm trying to get at. To me now, the concept of somebody being stuck to the bottom of a ball, antipode to me, is just nonsense. There is absolutely no way back. It's the Matrix
gravity, man. Gravity.
Yeah. Well, there's no way that you can. There's some people that you can change, or you can help see the light by showing them good videos or sending them to deepinsidetherabbithole.com. And there's other people that won't at all look at it. And the interesting thing, the human psychology aspect, which is sort of what I specialize in with my show, is what makes people tick. What's the difference between a person who will look all the way through at a video and the person who just folds their arms and says, no. What's the difference? Is it because they're not curious? Well, no, they might both be very curious people, because you look at other aspects of their life and they're investigating this or that. But when it comes to flat earth, there are some people, they just won't go there. Just won't.
So I've said this before, and maybe I can take it a little further, is that there's so much information around us that we're not seeing and hearing and feeling everything. We're actually wiping out most of it, and only paying attention to the things that really matter, so we can navigate through this world of information. And if something happens, if something falls off a counter and nobody's near it, you have to put an explanation on it, or you become disoriented. No matter what happens, you're constantly explaining everything subconsciously or consciously, putting explanations on anything, on every single thing, whether it's a leaf that moved, okay, the air did that. You heard a noise, okay, it was a chipmunk behind you. the candle blew out. Well, the window's open and the air came in, or it was out of wax. Whatever it is, you put an explanation on it, and that's the only way you feel safe in your world that you're creating. Now, when somebody brings flat Earth to it, subconsciously, that world that you've constructed, that you feel safe in, is no longer safe. Everything has changed, and most people don't want to deal with that. It's kind of like back pain. Back pain is not back pain is real, but it happens because you're not, unless you physically injured your back. But most chronic back pain is due to not dealing with emotional matters, because your brain says, I don't want to deal with this, and I'm going to distract you. I'm going to cut off blood circulation to your lower back, so you focus on that rather than deal with a more painful emotional issue. Just a quick note. People used to get ulcers in their midlife of responsibility, in the years of responsibility. They get ulcers because your body would say, I don't want to deal with this, and it would cut off blood supply to your stomach, and you would get an ulcer. And then they come up with a pill that cured the ulcer in your body, and people just said, people's brain said, all right, now I'm going to do your lower back. And when ulcers went away, back pain shot through the roof.
That's very interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Extremely interesting. And I'm going to ask you a quick question, not a trick question. Would you call that a flat Earth subject?
What? Well, how
Would
so?
you call what you've just said about ulcers and back pain, would you call it a flat Earth subject? Yes or no?
I don't know.
I'll say yes, because I think everything's connected on flat Earth, but that's just the kind of show I've got.
I think it's a trick question.
Yeah.
It's not a trick question, because I would also say yes. I would say it's a flat Earth subject, because we spoke about this just before you joined the call, David. So you've got two different definitions for flat Earth. You've got what we're doing now, the discussion about labeling people shills. It's not really about the lack of curvature or gyroscopic motion or the horizon rising to eye level. It's not really about the Earth being flat, but it's definitely about the expansion of the mind that has come from finding that fact out. The fact that there is no curvature, the fact that we don't live on a spinning ball, the fact that the stars have nothing to do with the ground in terms of measuring curvature. All of these things that we haven't discussed on the show are about the Earth being flat. But all of us are talking about controversial subjects, things like the Nazis, history being completely fake, all of these expansive topics, dinosaurs, alternative medicine, you name it, the list goes on. Your mind is expanded through flat Earth. So I would say, to summarize all of that it's definitely a flat Earth subject, because flat Earth is so much more expansive, but it doesn't necessarily focus on the lie that is heliocentrism, the lie that has been perpetrated by somebody who we may get to in this conversation, or we may not. It's just still a flat Earth subject to me, and I think Patricia agrees. Maybe to you might go, well, it's not really flat Earth because it's not about the sun or the moon, or something that's a link to a heliocentric way of thinking, tying the stars to the Earth. When you make a flat Earth video, I would still say is flat Earth, but a lot of people would put the argument in a dogmatic way that it's got absolutely nothing to do with the Earth. Do you see where I'm going? It's all flat Earth, whether we like it or not, if it's expanded your mind.
Well, I've known about that before flat Earth, so maybe flat Earth is a ulcer back pain topic.
No, but I didn't. That's interesting. Because of this campfire, and this isn't a flat Earth campfire. Yeah. I've heard this information now from you. I mean, I was going to grill you on where you got the information from and so on and so forth, but that's not necessary to make this point, that by being around a campfire that is a flat Earth campfire, we're finding out about these things that undoubtedly every single person that joins the campfire says, oh, well, actually, Joey Rocha, have had cancer and have gone through this treatment. He didn't know the Earth was flat, but there he is talking about it around a flat Earth campfire.
Right. The flat earth discussion does open up a lot of topics. You know, there's been many a hangout where flat earth didn't come up because we got onto too many other amazing tips that we had for each other, things that we've discovered. You know, I haven't been really sick in years. I don't remember. You know, I've gotten a little cold or a little something barely ever, but it never happens anymore because I take care of myself mentally and physically.
Yeah, me too. I am around a bunch of people who are sick and I don't get sick. I can remember one time in the past year where I had a little eye infection thing, and I don't even know how that happened. Maybe even just mascara. Who knows?
Think about sickness this way. Sickness isn't where germs are flying and little bugs are going to get you. Sickness is a vibration, and when you are near people that have that sick vibration, your body picks it up and mirrors it.
Well,
So when you're around somebody that's really happy, you feel happy. When you're around someone that feels sick, you can feel sick also, unless you shield yourself from it and maintain your own health.
yes. And I think I'm pretty good at doing that naturally for some reason. You know, something that we were talking about, the ulcers and backaches is a flat earth topic. Well, definitely it's not a 9/11 topic. You know, 9/11 and other assorted things one could call conspiracies or coincidence theory. They aren't gateways into all of these other magical, mysterious, amazing cures for mind and body and wellness. But flat earth somehow seems to be, probably because flat earth it just unites everybody. It puts everybody on a literal level playing field.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I'm going to cherish every opportunity to say it. But flat earth for David Weiss was a gateway into NASA fakery. Am I correct?
Yeah, unfortunately. It was fast though. I mean, literally, I don't, when probably in my second or third flat earth discussion, NASA came up and I was like, what? And immediately I knew, but the reason I didn't know is because I've been indoctrinated and I never looked. I never thought to question it. And I believed in dinosaurs back then. I believed in nuclear bombs back then. You know, I believed in a lot of baloney. Evolution. I'm an idiot. I was a moron.
I used to look at those, what people call Jesus fishes on the back of a car on a bumper in front of me when I was driving, and thought, if those people are so dumb. But those people are promoting that there's no evolution. And I'm meanwhile just locked in the matrix and thinking, oh, evolution, Big Bang, that's the way it is. But I really believed that 9/11 was just done by, Arabs with box cutters. Not that I actively believed it, but I never questioned it up until just a couple of years ago. So David, you can be admitting you're dumb about the NASA fakery thing, and that's how I was about 9/11. I never looked into it. I just sort of accepted it, like I accept that I'm breathing air. But when I looked at it, immediately, I realized what was going on. And that's how flat earth came to me. I was never fighting against flat earth. I looked at it and just was taken aback, and then just went all in, because truth is truth.
Right, I'm going to bring the topic back onto shills and shillery, because while this conversation has been going on, and it was intentional, we've got, not intentional by me, but intentional to keep him there, John LeBon in the chat. Now, jokingly, I said to David Weiss, shall I invite him on? I'm not going to. But from a reverse perspective, there's a lot of flat earthers who will be labelled as tinfoil hatters by the outside world, but for the most part, as far as we are concerned, understand the fundamental truth of our world, but will still point at a normal human being on the outside who still gathered around the campfire and label him a shill. And we see this with us, with people who are on our side at one stage and then not on our side, labeling as shills 10 minutes later. Why do you think that the people who are, seem to be becoming more rational or more open-minded are suddenly irrational and labeling, people within the group, if you want to call it that. And I'm going to label John Le Bon as a flat earther. He's going to hate me. But as far as I'm concerned, he's around this campfire, therefore a flat earther, whether he likes it or not,
Right.
You know,
based on my own standards.
John, John and I and Matrix did the Flat Earth, Ball Earth Skeptic show pretty early on. I don't know if there was other shows like it. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't.
I lived for that show. I lived for that show back before I started doing videos.
It was interesting, and I know a lot more than I knew back then. But now, John, every time I see one of his comments, it's Dave Weiss is still pushing the sunset video in Africa, and it's obviously fake. He always writes the same thing. Just go outside and look at the sunset. Well, how many of us live high on the African plain in the dry, in the dry weather, not over water? It's a completely different thing. He's reminding me of A4, the way he just keeps repeating the same thing again and again. But if you guys look at that African sunset, most of you know it. If not, just check out my videos. A lot of my sunset videos use it. Even if you can get that effect with just if there's like dust in the air, let's say you have a slightly dusty atmosphere, and as the sun moves away, it'll appear to get smaller. It'll appear to get smaller because you're losing the brightness, and the center is the brightest part, and it'll appear to get smaller. There's so many different ways to see the sun, and I don't know why he can't get past that. And the issue is when people shoot out, of something that's a fact, whether it's pro flat Earth or not, if there's no proof of it, I just delete it if it's in my comments, or I ignore it, because it doesn't matter. Like, we know the Earth is flat because of some unproven point, deleted, or the opposite for the ball. So,
I mean, maybe that's something we can round out the show. I'm hoping to keep it to about an hour, so we'll be shortly done, and the Shills subject will hopefully be at the top of the search results. So if you can't beat them, join them. If everyone's going to start labeling you two Shills, you might as well have your opportunity here and now to have this come up on the search results rather than their NAF videos.
I get attacked by people, random people with no, they have an icon, a letter as an icon on YouTube. They don't have pictures, and they don't have videos. And it's okay to, of course, not have videos. Not everybody makes videos. There's several people who attack me and say, I'm a man. She hides her hands. You can see one finger's a different size than the other. No, I don't. I'm a woman with woman hands, and I'm just whatever anybody wants to believe is fine. Or that she had plastic surgery. You can definitely tell before she went to the UK. Do people on her face? Do people understand what plastic surgery really is? You could Google it. You aren't fine and ready to go in a week or something. I mean, I did a video and was on a plane right afterwards. People don't understand. I don't think the people that even say that, and the reason is because she's a shill, PatriCIA Steere Agent. And why would I be getting plastic surgery while in the middle of doing videos? Anybody can look at all of my videos, and you could see I look a little different. A year and some months have gone by. My hair looks different. I'm still the same person. I look the same. But there's people out there who have a specialty of accusing me of being a tranny, a man, having reoccurring plastic surgery on my face. I don't understand if these people really believe this stuff is true, because if so, they're the worst researcher ever, or if they're just trying to hurt fellow human beings. I don't get it. I'll never get it. I don't understand it. But keep it up, because every time you make a video like that or make a comment like that, people go to my channel, click on it, and I get a view. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all the adverts. What's the most outrageous thing either of you have been accused of?
I guess for me, it's a tranny with the ongoing plastic surgery and, wearing a wig, that I wear a wig. Her hair seems to grow 10 feet and she doesn't have any split ends. I'm like, boy, you people pay a lot of attention to me. Yeah, tranny.
What about you, David? What's the most outrageous thing you've been accused of?
Tranny.
No. I really don't keep track. I only hear about this stuff from other flat earthers like, did you see this? Did you see that? And I literally, if I watch it, I forget about it. So I don't even know. I think, lately it's that I am promoting, I'm a gatekeeper because of the map, which is completely untrue. I don't know. Why don't you tell me? What have you seen about me, Nathan? Anything?
It's the usual barrage of nonsense, isn't it? The
Yeah,
deal,
it's so silly.
but along with all the horrible, I'm not going to repeat any of the horrible, you did it last time. Just the things that people will label that rhyme with your name that are just vindictive and horrible.
Yeah.
With my name?
Yeah. But let's not go there.
Okay. All right. See, I can't even come up with what it is, so I'm good.
You're good at ignoring it. Maybe that's where we should round up, actually.
Yes, that's the best thing to do is when I just put flat earth in and scroll several times a day to see if there's a new video that I want to watch or to see if there's a new person that I might want to potentially, look at what they're doing and then interview them. I do see a lot of videos come up with like, Patricia CIA shill or Patricia's a tranny, whatever. And the thing is not watching it. That's the thing, because it's stupid and I'm not going to give them a view. I see it and scroll by, and long gone are the days when anything like that made me sad. That was way over a year ago when it first started happening, when I was
8 months ago.
8 days ago. But I would in the past get quite sad by these things and wonder what's wrong with people. But now I just realized that there's all sorts of different kinds of people in flat earth. There's people who are actually really mean, and there's people who are actually really mentally confused. But the bulk of the people are amazing, and I'm really honored and pleased to have met them through, doing YouTube videos and some in person.
And by the way, I have been shown where I've been wrong on some things, and people have shown me new things, and I'll change what I've done. I've actually pulled down a couple videos that were incorrect. But it all depends on how the person points it out to me, because if they point it out in a comment where it just starts off horrid, I don't read the comment. I don't have time to read the comments. During this show, I probably got 200 comments to go through, and I don't have the time to do that. Sometimes I'll bulk approve some, but then if I go back and read them, I'm like, God, that was the point I was going to make.
That was the point.
That people are easily led. They'll watch a video, they don't formulate an opinion themselves, then they'll read the comments, and if you have troll comments in there, they'll be like, and they don't formulate their own opinion. That's why I delete troll comments. But if somebody wants to point out where I made a mistake or they have a better idea or whatever, explain it, and then put a link to what you want. Don't say, there's another video that proves what you're saying is wrong. Well, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, hey, what you said about this is incorrect because this is the way we see it. Check out this link. I'll reply to that. So, on both sides of the fence, if people do that, we all learn from each other.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube producers out there that are nothing to do with flat earth, doing completely unrelated subjects, that would say that YouTube as a platform ends up with a lot of hatred. There's people who debate whether women or men get more hatred on YouTube. So it's obviously not an uncommon theme amongst YouTubers. However, flat earth is about as loaded as it gets as a subject matter. So I think we will all agree that we get far more hatred, far more ridicule, and far more abuse than 99% of other YouTubers out there.
Nobody likes having their ball taken away. That's it. That's the bottom line. It's the absolute truth. It's like taking a ball away from a child. It ruins their world.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, maybe for another discussion, we'll talk about perhaps ways of broaching the subject of flat earth or the earth being flat without actually mentioning those two words, i.e. flat earth, because it triggers people. It sets them off in a wild rage.
Well, the best way to do that is to say, hey, check out this website, deepinsidetherabbithole.com. And then you got these flat earth pages, or set their home page to one of the flat earth pages. And that's the best way to do it. There you go.
It would be unfair to not at least get Patricia to plug her very, very flat earthy channel that she has. So you go ahead, Patricia.
Well, I was going to plug my Twitter, which is @Miss Steere, MISS Steere at Ms. Steere on Twitter, because I share everybody's videos. So it's a really good resource if you use Twitter to find videos. And there's people, I know people specifically, who don't even go on YouTube anymore. They say they just check my Twitter to find out the latest videos.
And let me plug my Twitter too.
InsideTheRabbitHole.com. You're good.
my rabbit's hole, plural. My rabbit's hole. And the only reason that was is because every other iteration was taken. That was the only thing that was available. My rabbit's hole. Check it out. Follow me on Twitter, because that's where I'll be posting most of my stuff in the future.
Absolutely awesome. But for those who are not already subscribed to Flat Earth and other hot potatoes, that's where to find PatriCIA Steere's marvelous interviews and book readings and group shows like the one she had just a moment ago. So with that, I will say a massive thank you to David Weiss of Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole and Exposing the Big Three. Thank you very much for being on my channel. And also PatriCIA Steere, thank you very much for being here. And to all of you in chat who have joined us live, thanks for being here. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.